All right, game two. Mad Lions opting for blue side, as has been the prerogative of most losing teams in this entire tournament. In many cases, opting to get Kennen, and then you give up some amount of power, and then you say, "Can we get one half of Zaya Rakan?" Right? If they don't pick it up for themselves. What is with the glitter bomb? 200 international games for Faker. That's it. Wow, 200. And the games that you only play. Beautiful setup here. Grabbing Maokai at level 1. Ends up dropping himself a ward to get some lingering amount of information. Now let's see if T1 can go over here. Love it when teams scout each other out and they have a read on what's going to happen early in the game. The question is, what happens next? Did you make the plan as far as what do we do after we kill the Maokai? Or did it stop at, I think we can kill Maokai because he always goes to this bush. Who knows? Looks like we're going to get... Ooh, I love this ward here by Lulu. Putting the ward on the Krug is going to get perfect information about how long Zaya and Rel take to get to lane. That'll give them information about leashing. And at the very least, maybe Rel and Zaya coming back to lane, they might see Lee Sin on the Krugs as well. So they will get plenty of good information for themselves here. Now, Aphelios Lulu again going for the hyperscaling, this time versus Rel, even more explosive of a laner, but has to deal with the double range disadvantage that Rel often has to deal with. The all-in will favor them, but the gig will be up as soon as Lee Sin shows on this camp. Guma and Kiri are going to feign aggression, right? It's going to convince Lee Sin to come closer, and then they will step back. Maokai will use that time to lurch ahead of Lee Sin in the jungle. And yeah, 100%, here you go. The problem is that they've cultivated a push, and they are not going to be able to stop this, which means that Karzi Hylissang will be able to hold the freeze here with the threat of Lee Sin being nearby. Now, this game, look at the crazy draft, right? Karma being flexed into top lane so that they can get Cassante out of the matchup versus Kennen. Lissandra does not have enough mana to be able to fight through Cassante with his resistances. You see right here, like, has already gotten a potion away from Niski. Hasn't used one himself, is just sitting on this Doran's Blade. Now, what Niski can try to do, there is a little bit more gank setup here from Lissandra than from Cassante. She can try to say, hey, let's keep this lane on this part of the map, and we'll see if Lee Sin can find a good angle to get in at you. Which, honestly, I thought they would have. Lee Sin going from red to Krugs and then circling back around in the jungle. I thought he would have passed through mid based on where the lane state was. So they might go back and say, hey, like, you had an opportunity to get here. Perhaps they're saying, you know what, we don't know where Maokai is, and if Maokai answers this gank, then it's problems. Would be a little bit bizarre because Lee Sin is going to love every time that he can get his hands on the Maokai. That fight will be heavily in his favor, especially with this Conqueror. Now, you do see Maokai with Phase Rush, right? One of the tools you can use in the jungle into a losing matchup when you have someone that has some CC. Well, right now, 1E, W, Q, smash them away, run away with Phase Rush. You've got the full procs, you've got everything you need. Going in. Oh, shorts it. Shorts it to not get knocked into the wall, I think. I don't know. Here we go. Oh, no, Karzi, are you going to survive this? Uses the flash to get out. And it looks like Fager's about to bite the dust, though. Shield is down. One more auto. Niski actually missing his auto attack there, losing it in the bush. And that means that Maokai strings out the Lee Sin, who's taking all the minion aggro. Mechanical misplay there from Niski and Faker, just showing, you know, exactly how durable this Cassante mid is. It's just frustrating. It is. There's no other word for it. It's frustrating how good Cassante is. Niski has one, maybe two Qs left in the mana pool. Won't be enough to kill Faker here, but you see Faker stepping back anyway, saying, yeah, you know what, I can just teleport back to this wave. No reason to risk being dove, especially since Rel is on a roam timer. We'll see if we end up getting a play anyways. These auto attacks kind of just tickle the Cassante, right? You're actually almost just helping. You're proccing Second Wind. Good job resisting here, but the Q is actually going to save Hilly. Somehow takes a step to the right just a pixel too early, means that still going to take the turret aggro and they end up getting 2 kills for themselves as a trade. Now check out also this Cassante. A lot of Cassantes go grasp. This one is going Aftershock, saying, you know what, Lissandra's going to be a little bit too much damage to have to deal with all this poke. I just want to have the Aftershocks that when it is time to fight, I'll be able to all in, to, you know, kind of regardless of of how much health or whatever I have, right? All it takes is 1 W or 1 Q, and that'll be the Aftershock. So right here, for example, you see Faker surviving because of the Aftershock. Now, here's the split call right here, right? Elyoya kind of flashing away, still taking aggro from the minions, comes back in, and that's enough. Q into flash auto W from Maokai, showing a exceptional mastery. Are they going to camp Faker? Are they going to be able to get this? Niski taking aggro? No, Elyoya was taking aggro. Niski thought that he had to get out. Ends up getting nothing for himself. Faker's now level 6, which means the moment that he sees Lissandra, she's going to die. She does not have the damage to ever work through Cassante with his shields and Vamp that he gets in all out. Now, composition-wise, we haven't really spoken about it, but Karma with Maokai gives you a lot of long-range engage, speed boost for the team to match up when you get the Twisted Advance, or the, whatever it's called, the name of the ultimate. When they're moving forward, they will get that long fight, and with this build with, again, multiple kind of tanky teammates, Maokai not the tankiest when he's played in the jungle, but plays for a lot of AP, but tanky enough in the ability to reset turret aggro specifically using the W. They have a fairly tanky team, right? With Lulu, keep everybody alive. Karma, extra shields, keep everybody alive. And we're just going to call this the T1 comp. Aphelios and the Pips, right? Just Aphelios and people that can help him to stay alive. You know, good champions that are hard to kill. And there's nothing more to be said about it. That's their strategy going in to the meta here. Based on that game, Caps was the first person that was not allowed to see any more Nautilus, but now that other champions, other teams have shown the propensity to pick up the champion and succeed with it, even in the dire situations, I think Nautilus will be a permanent red side ban for the rest of the tournament. All right, top lane, we've got, looks like Rod of Ages being built on Karma, which will help her tremendously to get some amount of scaling, right? Use that early game power to make it through the trough of the Catalyst. Basically right after you're done building Catalyst, you're strong, but then when you finish Rod all the way to when it's at about 6 or 7 stacks, you're weaker than most other champions, right? The extra health will help to keep you alive. Oh my gosh. Hemorrhaging. Mad Lions just hemorrhaging through the mid lane, was not able to turn these victories in the mid wave, and now it seems like they're reaching, trying to do too much, and they're just falling behind against this team comp that again is going to have a tremendous time in these late game team fights. Lee Sin does find a pick onto Karma, but Karma gets away, at least for the moment. Did Elyoya just flash that as well? He may have had to do it just to get away from the threat that was in the jungle. Now, who do they want to give this kill to? I would imagine it's Kennen. Yeah, Lee Sin's trying to give it away, but you see how sticky Karma is. Very hard to kill. And let's check out this bottom action. Good job with the E flash, using the R finally to dodge Gumayusi's damage, and they're going for the re-engage. Hylissang tries to do it, but of course once you get off the horse, you are losing too much move speed, and Gumayusi was able to flash to dodge and then win the kite out battle. Karzi has no tools left, so we're going to go for the auto to get away on the blast cone. Kerio going for a reach, ends up having to use the ultimate. Faker uses his flash, but still dies, lacking the resistances. Probably because the Aftershock doesn't actually proc on the W once you're in all-out mode, right? You're only getting it from Q3 at that point. You can use it when you're not in all-out. You can use W to get Aftershock procs. You can use your ultimate. But not getting the extra resistances may have also just been down at that point. Hylissang being 5, Keria coming back to lane, right? The only way out here is to fight your way out. They're try to get the engage, and you see Carrier just beautifully times this polymorph, as he always does. Now, Karzi being very defensive with that ultimate, could have maybe gone forward. You know, if the communication is there with the team, you say, hey, I can ult forward here, go in for a little bit more pressure. If Hilly's able to go in at the exact same time. That being said, Gumayusi is probably the best kiting AD carry player in the world right now, and he probably would have been fine to dodge through it. Do they stick around for more action here? It looks like they're going to go for 3 plates and buckle out. No, Rel is going in, going for the engage. 3v3 saying we like our fights with Lee Sin. Somehow Xayah still getting rooted even though Lee Sin got hit right there, which means Twist Advance is going to be enough to displace her, move her backwards. And yeah, this is a slaughter, guys. T1 is just taking everything in their way. I'm very surprised that that Twisted Advance hit both of them because it looked like they were on the same perpendicular line. Now with the push here, Rift Herald will be used. They'll be able to get another charge off of it. I wouldn't mind them staying to actually dent this turret even more, but it won't be enough to get the turret all the way down, which means that they're going to go cycle back, get back into a mid lane rotation, and now they'll have priority for the dragon. Cassante just chuckling at Lissandra as Lissandra tried to lock him under turret. Here's the Hylissang. Let's look at this angle. Yeah, how did that hit? Karzi actually stepped back, gets hit by the R, and that spells his own doom. But yeah, you'd think based on where you were positioned and where the tendrils were, that he would have been okay where he was standing. But getting clipped by the back edge of that back one. I know Riot never wants to admit to this, but the fact that different skins get played in these games means that you have different appearances on hitboxes, and it can matter. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened right there. There are some skins that are on the no-fly zone, right? The champion players are not even allowed to play them because their effects look too similar. For example, Steel Legion Lux, her auto attacks look just like her Q. So not allowed in pro play. There's a few of them. I think the list is like six different skins that are forbidden. I think there's an entire line as well. There might be like the championship ones they just can't use. Kind of bizarre, but yeah, honestly, Faker's got the right idea. Just play no skins. Make the game the same for yourself. It's the most fair. But of course, pro players wearing skins is good for sales, so they're never going to change that. All right, we end up, it is an Abyssal Mask from Karma. So I'm super ecstatic to see this because I've been singing the praises of this item ever since the preseason, that it's just performing great on basically every single champion. Even before, well, especially before the Catalyst of Eons changes, when it was 1100 gold, it's just like, why would you ever buy Lost Chapter? This is just better. But now after the changes, people are still like, yeah, no, this is good. Abyssal Mask, just be tanky for my team, a little bit harder to kill, especially against these AP threats. It has just become the go-to magic resist item, right? Like, why build anything else? There are even champions that don't have mana that still thrive on this champion, right? We've even seen it from Kennen themselves, right? Just the extra stats, the fact that it's shredding magic resist, you're in the middle of the fight, that combined with Jaksho as well. Jaksho having a big burst of magic damage while also siphoning resists. Abyssal Mask kind of does the same thing. Those two items together are phenomenal. They just do a heck of a job together, and champions with AoE damage like a Mumu can definitely use it. Now here we go. We see the big engage, but Zeus, showing the power of the Abyssal Mask, does not die despite 4 champions in his face. Uses the shield, uses the mantra on the W to root and gain life, stays alive, and this one is done and dusted, folks. If you can't get that pick against a Karma top lane, then what are you going to get? You don't outscale. You've got only Zaya. You could say maybe a little bit of Kennen, but like this beefy team, they're not dying to Kennen. We already saw what Abyssal Mask will do in this matchup, and we see, uh, look at the items being built by Maokai and Cassante and Karma. It is just going to be so difficult to get through this team. You've got Keria buff botting them. Now, if you're going into the draft, right? If you're the coaching staff, you need to figure out a way. Like, hey, all right, our team, we could have had the win based on how well we snowballed in that lane bot last time. However, we are not team fighting well against this double, triple tank setup. So what are you going to do? Could it be as extreme as picking up someone like Vayne? Vayne having the changes to her ultimate. Maybe these people haven't investigated a lot or enough with different builds, right? And they don't know about Infinity Edge, for example. They may try to go on hit notoriously slow, right? When you're trying to get that burst damage to a pick target, on hit builds tend to be very slow at doing that. What if they go something like Varus and saying, hey, we've got a max health execute? Well, that's not going to be very good into Abyssal Mask. It's going to be tough. Where are they going to go? It's got to be max health somewhere. They've got to get burning damage from somewhere. Maybe they put Maokai in their own back pocket and say, hey, we'll go Liandry's Demonic Embrace, and we'll just litter every position that we can with these burning bushes and try to get extra damage. But I wouldn't be surprised to see something out of left field come out as well, something like Vayne. Or you might double down on the early game. Play one of these champions. You could create lane combos like Ziggs. You could get Belveth and Ziggs on the same team and say, hey, we're just going to try to rip you apart and win the game by 16 minutes. Hey, Karza, you did not need to do that. Not knowing how far the Maokai ultimate was going to reach, or the fact that Lee Sin was blocking it just in time. Either one of those things would have been fine, and so now, you kind of realize that panic starts to set in when you start making mistakes like that, where you're guessing rather than calculating. That is normally a symptom of panic. Which, it's reasonable, right? The heart rate probably went super high in first game, especially when they thought to themselves, hey, we might actually beat T1. That's when your heart rate starts coming up. You got to keep it down. Stay present, stay in the moment. If you realize that you're getting a little hyperventilated, a little hyphy, if you will, that's when you just say, all right, here's where I feel it. I can tell I'm anxious. I feel it. I can feel it for them right now. It's kind of knotting up in my diaphragm. It's getting tight. I'm taking shallower breaths. It's not giving my body the oxygen that I need. Tell yourself, all right, I realize it. This is where I'm tight. Take a deep breath, hold it. And when you breathe out at the bottom of that deep breath, let your diaphragm press on that blue button that's inside you that just cools you down. It says, okay, this is the case. I'm anxious. I'm getting a little bit over eager. Let me just realize it and let me try to address it. Do it again if you need to. Do it as many times as you need to. In and out. And then once you're back to your baseline, then you can bring yourself back up for performance. But it takes that moment to realize it, right? You have to take that step for yourself, get out of these panic responses, because these high stress responses are causing mistakes. And we just see more Carzy just kind of putting them all together. And, it's natural. You played out of your mind in the first game, and your team just let it slip away. And you're thinking, what else can I do? And you're starting to think, I need to do more. I need to do even more than what I did last game because it wasn't enough. That's not true. Last game, you guys had the win. You just need to collect yourself and redo it. Do it again. Your team will step up. Give them the opportunity. When you start acting rashly, and especially if you start verbalizing your frustration, that's when it stagnates your teammates. You just got to be that voice of reason and be like, okay, I can do better. I can be fine. I can be strong here. Give them a moment. Encourage them even. Hey, it's okay, guys. We got this. Those words have tremendous impact. Now, is Mad actually thinking about game 3, or are they trying to compete here? I don't know. It feels like they've got a foot out the door already. Coaching staff should basically be washing this one. It's not really worth talking about, apart from any read where you might say, hey, like this is the kind of rotation that they're going to make and we expect that we can exploit them. Remember, this game started off with a snap 1-0 on the Maokai, and they just have lost everywhere ever since then. And largely, Elyoya, the path, that ward down by the Krugs, game changing, right? Absolutely insane what one little ward can do. Would have liked Lee Sin to take that momentum from bot lane and say, all right, we got this cool situation. We know that they're going to ward this bush again. We can use this and then swing back around or go gank mid. Anything but go back to Raptors and then go to Wolves. I think that was the only bad plan, honestly. All right, Rel, are you going to tie this up? No, they're spreading out. They're spreading out so everyone gets hit. What's the point of this? They all could have gone into one line trajectory. Let the Rel block it. Rel can even buffer the root as she's jumping to be able to land while you're rooted on the far side. Yoya going for a hero steal. Ooh. Q is down means that they could burst it. Q's coming back up shortly. Should be about 3, 2, 1. We'll see if he got it back up. Yep, there it is. He's looking again. They didn't burst, and they're going to keep it here. They're going to keep it at 2400. That is the T1 special. They love 2400. You keep it right there. You wait for the resonating strike timer to go away, and then as Lee Sin shuffles over to the left, they burst, they get the all-in, and they engage, and that is going to be it. Beautifully done around the pit. Kennen down, top inhibitor down, mid inhibitor has 2 minutes left. I believe they've got 3 supers left spawning on that one, maybe 4. All right, I like what Mad's doing. Chase for a play here. Kennen has teleport. They don't have a ward for him to get to, though. So look for Lee Sin to try to jump ahead. He's going to use control ward and hop to jump to the far side here. But T1 saying, you know what, we don't want to go any further because we don't want to exist in a world where Kennen might be able to teleport. And they all get out on time. They move succinctly. They say, all right, guys, let's go now. Now, if you want to do that well as a team, you do a countdown, right? You have your shot caller say, all right, we're going to press back in 3, 2, 1, now. That makes sure that everybody gets out at the same time. And that way everyone can react. Sometimes in your solo queue games, you'll get someone pressing back, and then next person's like, oh, okay, we're going to recall. And then the last 3 people are like, oh, okay, we're recalling, so we recall. And then the first 2 resolve, and the third one does not. Enemy team catches up to you, and they get a 5v3. And then they can win that fight, take the whole map. You've seen it before. I'm sure you've all seen games end that way. Not the way T1 did it. If you just do a quick little countdown, press the recall button all together, you say right here, right now, it doesn't matter where we are. We're far enough. We press it. Some of them are going to be taking angles around us, and it lets them get the fast recall off together. Now, check out what Faker's doing. Keeping Kennen out of the fight here, but Chasey... Oh, sorry, it's not Kennen. That's Lee Sin. Kennen able to find the angle. This is what Mad needs for the win. One big flank, but as you can see, the Karma Mantra Shield is going to be enough to keep everybody alive. And basically that one ability, ultimated, of course, but Mantra Shield is enough to completely undo Kennen, showing how good of a pick Karma is into Kennen. Can combat for the laning phase. They were never able to get the all-in kills onto Zeus, and basically built for the second support role, Abyssal Mask. And T1 all business. Unlike the other teams at the end of the game where they just sit on the fountain and try to get another pick or a kill. No, let's go win. Let's take care of business. We can celebrate later.